right, Paul. All right. What I want to do just in this chat is really, it's to just give me an idea of what the session's about, how it fits into the unit, and for you to sort of give me an idea of what your main sort of aims for this session are, and if there's anything specific you want me to observe for and give you some feedback on. Okay.
Yep.
So if I understand right, it's a lecture for third year chemistry students.
Yep.
And the idea is that you're trying to sort of implement a flipped classroom model.
Yeah. So a lot of the information has been available to the students before the lecture, and we'll be going over some of those key points again, but I'm also trying to encourage a bit more interaction between me and the students, and potentially, hopefully, between the students themselves. So we're utilising a mass polling or a quizzes, utilising the mobile phones. So there's various quizzes interspersed at stages through the lecture. So it won't be all about those, but there will be a point as well.
Those will be within the session. And is this new for this group of students, or have they done this sort of thing in the past?
For some of them, I will have already been doing this last term on another unit. Right. But there will be some students who don't do the core one unit who won't. This might be new to.
And what's the engagement normally with the sort of pre-session screencasts?
It's not as high as I would like. It tends to be somewhere around about 30 to 40%.
Okay.
They like them, the responses to them, but I think they like them particularly for revision purposes, for tests and exams. And they do like the fact that they can visit them afterwards as well as before.
Well, I'm not a chemist, so the one thing I won't be giving you feedback on is the content. Yeah. Because you could be telling me anything, because it's definitely not my strength is chemistry. So I will be looking at it more in terms of the teaching, the delivery, and how the students interact and those sorts of things. I won't be making any comments about what you're actually teaching. Yeah. So if that's okay,
Yep, that's fine.
I'll sit at the back of the class of the lecture theatre and just hide in the corner at the back of the lecture theatre. So
you'll probably find most of the students will be there as well.
Right.
Okay, welcome back after the holidays. The object of the exercise for this afternoon's session is just to ensure that everyone is completely okay with assigning these two key characteristics to what we describe as organometallic compounds. I just want to be absolutely sure that everybody knows what an organometallic compound is. So before we go into anything even more complicated than that, I've got a little quiz. So everyone remembers the Kahoot quizzes. We've used these a number of times. If you just get out your phone, type in kahoot.it. We just got one question. One question. What is an organometallic compound? We've got four options there. A compound with both metal and carbon atoms, a coordination complex in which ligand contains carbon, a compound containing a metal-carbon bond, or an organic molecule with a metal in it somewhere. Which one of those is right? C. So that's not a bad return. We got 20 there with the right answer. Yep.
So what I thought, do just give you a little bit of verbal feedback.
Yep.
I'll send some written feedback over later. But it's useful to just have a chat straight afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
How did you feel it went?
Yeah, we're fine.
If we focus around the use of the quiz first. Yep. I think it worked really well. You used the quizzes in a number of different ways. So you used it at the beginning to check their background knowledge, what level were they at, and then you used it a couple of times to check their learning as you were going through, and then the final one you added a bit of competition in there as well, which I thought was useful. I think the engagement, there was about 40 students, and it was around 26, 27 students were engaging with the actual quiz, which is a good percentage. We can assume some was sharing with others.
The advantage of doing it through the quizzes is we're getting an instant feedback on how well people are taking these ideas and theories on board.
I suppose the other thing to think about is the time it takes to do the quiz, because it obviously takes the time
it does
out of your doing your actual lecture time. And do you think that's sort of time well spent?
I do, yeah. I think the process I'm trying to get away from is it being just transmission of information for a 50-minute block. Trying to break that down and introduce it is a small steps at a time, because it is a cultural shift, because there's so much of the lectures they go to will be transmission of information for 50 minutes, and it's this death by PowerPoint scenario. So I'm actually finding giving lectures from my perspective a lot more enjoyable doing that, and it is actually quite relaxing, because talking for 50 minutes non-stop is hard work.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I find it more enjoyable process for me, and I think the students definitely enjoy this more interactive approach.
Oh, I think they do, and I think what I found interesting was their engagement. They did engage well with it, and what I found really, certainly the row in front of me, there was a real argument going on between 4 of the students on what was the right answer, and they were each trying to persuade each other, because they'd got different answers, and then it ended up being 3 of them onto one person, and it turned out in the end the one person was right, which was interesting. But it was this discussion that it stimulated between the students.
That's exactly what it.
Which I think was a really good learning point from it. So it wasn't that it was just testing their learning; it was also giving the skills of peer instruction, but also of being able to argue their case with other people. So I thought it worked well. Question and answer with the students. I thought you handled them really well, because you reinforced the important bits in their answer. So right early on, you asked them a question, and it was around bonds was the key bit. And when you were actually giving them feedback, you actually sort of really emphasised the word bonds, and made it very clear to the students that's the important bit in that answer. And I thought that was really good, and that's a really good teaching point. And I think that's the main. The other thing was at the end, the summary. I thought it was nice the way you linked it to what's happening in the future. So you said, we've got a tutorial. We'll go. This is what we're going to do in the tutorial, and the idea of referring them back to the resources on Moodle. That was great. So I think it was a good session in terms of sort of points for development. I think a little bit about what you're putting on your PowerPoints.
Yep.
And maybe make some of them a little less busy, and maybe with the quizzes, maybe 3 is probably enough in an hour rather than the 4, because I noticed the engagement, the numbers that logged on in that last one was lower. So whether that was that they were getting fed up of the quizzes, I'm not sure, but maybe one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end is really good. But I enjoyed it.
I thought it'd be useful to get some feedback on the process. There might be bad habits that I've got into over years of doing it that I don't notice anymore. So it's good to have a fresh pair of eyes to iron out any cracks. I got some good feedback on some aspects of the lecture, particularly techniques that I've been using, trying to use interactive quizzes. So it was good getting someone else's perspective on how they work. how much of it to do, how to blend the quizzes and interactive aspects to the lecture and the actual teaching and transmission of the information as well.